प्रतिबोधिता भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन कृतिता पुराणम् मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्ददामि भगवद्गीते भगवद्वेषिणी.
So Arjava.
Yes.
Arjava, as we saw in the 13th chapter, Gita 13.7, is an alignment between the mind, the word, and the action. It is speaking what one thinks and doing what one speaks, and doing what one speaks. And this becomes complete when combined with Satya and Rita, where one has a value in constantly ensuring what one thinks is right, in addition to speaking what one believes is right. In chapter...
Yeah, Swami has explained at that time very elaborately that you may think it is right, but you might not have ascertained the truth of it. So, what is important is Satyam and Ritam, well ascertained truth. Just not Melanindavariya, just must really arrive at the truth and then speak about it. And then your action should be aligned with what you speak and what you think. So, then that is called, that is complete Arjava. Yeah.
Swami, the difference between Swami Satyam and Ritam.
Well ascertained truth. Satyam is, see, a very simple example is, generally people are either innocent or ignorant. Like, they don't, whenever somebody asks a question, any place or anything about anything, in his anxiety to reply, he will tell whatever that comes to his mind. See, when somebody asks something, if you are really not sure, you must be able to say, I don't know, or I am not very sure, I will check up and tell you. Generally, as if we know, we tell, but we don't ascertain the truth of it. So that is what he says. We should not be very, even we don't have any malicious intention to tell a lie or deceive the other fellow. But even when you tell Satyam, you must, when you tell something, you must ascertain the truthfulness of it. You must inquire, or you must be very clear in your mind, or tell exactly what you know, and this much I know, beyond that I don't know. Like even telling a place, how to go to a place and all that. I know it is somewhere close to Manargudi, but I don't know, from there you will find out and go.
Yes.
So like that, you can't say that Manargudi place go easy and all that. Since don't do any, don't be flippant in your communication, be exact. So that is called Ritam, Satyam and Ritam. And then that is why even in Shastra, Satyam Vada, Ritam Vada, always they do it together. So that you are well ascertained in what you speak. And that also clarifies in your mind, you are very clear as to what you are communicating, what you are telling. So that clarity in communication is very important. Satyam and Ritam. And then automatically what you do also should be in accordance with what you say. That is called Arjavam. That is alignment between thought, word and deed. All these are very important between the Vak tapas. All very, that is also a tapas in the sense you talk minimum, but whatever you tell, you must be very well ascertained truth. There should not be any compulsion, no pressure inside to talk. And those are all some simple things, but we don't pay attention to it. That is what Shastra says. You must pay attention to what you are communicating. Very important.
In chapter 13, Shankara defines Arjava as Ruji Bhavo Avakritvam. Ruji Bhavo Avakritvam. Straightforwardness and absence of crookedness. This is an important value for a Jigyasu because any compromise in Arjava one does only due to Raga Dveshas. And as long as Raga Dveshas determine one's actions, the assimilation of the knowledge cannot take place. That is why Bhagavan mentions Arjava in the chapter where he is enumerating the Jnana sadhanas, and he considers it so important that he reiterates here and again in chapter 17. Let me read.
Ahimsa is the absence of hurting any living being. Here, not hurting is not only limited to human beings but extends to all living things, including trees and so on. A hurtful act, like any action, can be threefold according to the means used: physical, oral, or mental. We deliberately avoid hurting any living being by a physical action. Although speech is also one of the organs of action, it is treated separately here. Mentally also one can perform an action like meditation or prayer. Although one may have stray unkind thoughts about a person, if they are entertained volitionally, it becomes a mental karma. Volitionally means?
Volitionally meaning, in the sense, very deliberately. You deliberate in the sense you get a sort of a fleeting bad thought about somebody, but you deliberate and dwell on it and make it very real for you. That is called volitionally entertaining a bad thought about a person. That we should avoid. Fleeting thought may keep coming, but you should ignore it. Don't dwell on it. That is very important.
Even if they are entertained volitionally, it becomes a mental karma. A mere thought does not become karma unless it is backed by an agent who is deliberately using his will. Satyam. Satyam here refers to speaking truth. Because words can be so hurtful, one is advised to say not only what is truthful, but what is also pleasing and beneficial. We have a mandate to speak only what is truthful, Satya. But while doing so, we may say something hurtful.
Footnote. Satyam bruyat priyam.
Satyam bruyat, priyam bruyanna bruyat, satyama priyam. Priyancha nandritam bruya desha dharmaha sanatanaha. Manusmriti 4-138.
Yeah, this we have discussed. Swamiji also discussed it before.
Yes.
Like Satyam Vada, Ritam Vada, Hitam Vada, Satyamapi, Ritamapi, Apriyam Navada. The sense, what is maybe true, very well ascertained truth, and it may be what you say may be useful to the other person in your understanding. It is desirable for the, but he is not in a mood to listen to you. He feels is not receptive. At that time, there is no point in telling him. At that time, you have to tell him what is priyam for his mind. Get him back to you the conversation. And then tell when he is in a mood to listen to you, listen to your he is confident about your good intentions towards him. Tell him Satyam and Ritam and Hitam. Till then, don't. First is important. You have to make him come into the conversation with you. So Satyamapi, Ritamapi, Hitamapi. If it is apriyam, navada. Don't say that. Should be priyam. And then not just priyam. Okay, whatever is pleases the other fellow is not going to be helpful to him. So first you say priyam and then tell him satyam, ritam and hitam when he is in a receptive mood. Swamiji is follows this in all his lectures. In the sense, he first gains your confidence. He validates the other person. He tells him that you are okay. So the other person feels confident about himself. And then slowly and steadily he will tell the real truth about life. The whole teaching, even if you look at the essence of Bhagavad Gita, always he will validate you. He will not say you are useless. Then you will not be in a position to listen to him. No. So first he will validate why people are like this. Every emotion is valid. No emotion is wrong or right and all that. But it does not help you all along. What is the point in entertaining that emotion? And slowly he will bring it. What is the real truth? How you should go about your life, which is going to be helpful to you. No point in getting sentimental. All those things he will say. He has his very unique style of covering the whole audience. Because he has been doing so many public talks over a period of so many 40 years. He has been very, very, very good communicator of Shastra in a very, very absorbing manner. That is one of the reasons why he was successful in communicating. That is really made out by this fact. Satyam bruyat, priyam bruyat, na bruyat, satyamapi, priyam, if it is not priyam, priyam cha, then priyam also cha, priyam cha, Na anrutam bhyat. Priyam is relative. You must not keep on telling what is priyam only. Priyam cha na anrutam bhyat. If it is not ascertained truth, don't say that. Dharmaha sanatanaha. That is what is told in Sanatana Dharmam Manusmriti. That's what he says. So it's so beautiful it is. Yeah.
Satyam here refers to speaking truth because words can be so hurtful. One is advised to say not only what is truthful but what is also pleasing and beneficial. We have a mandate to speak only what is truthful, Satya. But while doing so, we may say something hurtful. So we are enjoined to say what is pleasant, Priya. And while it is important to say what is pleasant, it should not be at the cost of what is true. It should not be false, anartha.
Andrita.
Anrita means not ascertained the truth.
Why does anyone tell lies? It is only due to fear of facing certain facts about oneself. But not being truthful only makes a person weaker and weaker. So honestly facing situations and the facts as they are and then being honest in conversation is the way to overcome some of these fears. In speaking about something, our words should convey the sense of it exactly as it is. That is, it has to be yatartha with no omissions or embellished merits. What is Satya, even Priya, may also sometimes be useless. We therefore try not to use words that do not serve any purpose. This implies care in using adjectives and in choosing words that most accurately convey what the thing or situation is. If we restrict our speech to what is useful, naturally we become conscious about what we say. Akrodha means absence of anger. But Shankara defines it very beautifully here as the resolution of anger. This implies an acknowledgement of the existence of anger. We are already angry and a given situation evokes it. Anger comes from anguish arising from unfulfilled expectations. Every human being has it because from childhood there have been numerous disappointments. Based on some conclusions drawn from these experiences, we gather anger towards ourselves and the world. We have to resolve this anger born of anguish or we will continue to be vulnerable to it. New situations do not remove the anger but only serve to make us angrier because we are already angry. And an angry person does not accomplish anything worthwhile, he only damages himself and others. But a person who acts has a chance of salvaging even a potentially damaging situation. Once while traveling, I saw someone who was so angry when the air hostess brought him the wrong drink that his shouting could be heard all over the aircraft. He is a guest for 2 or 3 hours. If he wants something else, she is going to oblige him surely. Then why such intense anger? He is already angry. The angry man becomes angry. Do not think you cause anger in anyone else either. It was all caused long ago and is just sitting there waiting for some occasion to make it manifest. That is the truth about anger. How can we resolve it? By various types of proper vichara and by resolution. That's why I didn't raise the question to you like in organization sometimes to take leave we have to lie saying I'm not well, someone is not well. So that's all coming to
He is
that.
explaining, you just see, go through that. He will nicely explain. Yeah.
Cognitively we can change because anger, like every other emotion, is preceded by a thought, more often than not a conclusive thought like this is never going to happen to me or I can never make him understand. Thoughts like these are the missing link between old anger and the current situation. The thought usually goes undetected and what I call is what I call mechanical thinking. Without permission it takes place. Any situation that reminds you of the cause of your original anger can trigger the thought, and once the thought has come, the anger is there. There is no feeling without these conclusive thoughts. They hold the anger and therefore by proper inquiry we can neutralize it. First you must isolate the conclusion. This recognition of the conclusive thought makes it no longer automatic. Then the more you recognize the thought, the less mechanical it is because you are conscious of it. A time comes when between you and the knowing person, the prabhata, this automatic thinking, there is some space. As the thought comes, you should be able to recognize it. In the beginning, you recognize it only after it has come. Then you recognize it as it comes, and eventually you recognize the occasion in which it can come and find that it does not come. At every stage, it is a question of recognizing the thought and thereby resolving the anger. If there is excessive pressure from old anger, there are harmless methods of releasing it, like beating the floor with a wet towel or writing out all that you feel. Shankara only says, Krodasya upasamana.
Upasamana meaning resolving. Yeah.
Okay.
Resolving the anger should be done. How one resolves it can vary from person to person.
Yeah, very important. Like, in any organization, we always generally conclude this person is like that. We already have a conclusion. Then we approach that person and in any new situation, a new problem, you are going to approach him. But you go with the background that this fellow is not going to be helpful. So that part of it, you must keep it aside deliberately before going for the meeting. You must think, I've always been, anyway, whatever my bad experience about him has not been that good. But that is a thought I have, but I won't entertain it. Not helpful. I'm going to keep it aside and I'm going to approach this person fresh with this new issue and patiently listen to him how to go about it. So I'm not going to go by my pre-concluded thinking about him. That way you must verbally tell yourself and take to the new situation. That's what he says. The sense by doing that, you will have a space within yourself, between you and that particular judgment about a person. So between that, there should be a space so that you are able to suspend it for the time being and approach that. It's deliberate. Basically, what he says, the whole thing is deliberate, should not be mechanical. So that you are alert. The alert, moment to moment, the alertness is the freedom. That is precisely what we are talking about. You want to be a free person at all times. For that, you have to exercise that freedom every time. You have to recognize that space within you. You are not by your bundle of your memories. You are a fresh person every time. This moment is, the presence is more important. That is why I always say, past is history, future is mystery. And past and future is only something like, it's telling a story. Whereas we are not telling, our life is not a story. It is the presence, the ever-present, fresh being we are, all of us. The presence is the reality. That we should not lose because of our opinions of the past, or anxiety about the future, because of whatever we have gone through and all that. Yes, all of us must have gone through. But still, every time, every moment, you must be able to approach fresh. The presence we should not lose. For that, mechanical thinking should be over. Then there should be a space inside. In the sense, that is where the space comes from the apatata jnana, meaning at least a superficial understanding, a shraddha, Shastra, which tells you that here and now you are Purnam. You have nothing to lose, nothing to gain in life. You are the awareful being. You are the reality. Everything else is happening. Because in your presence only, everything is happening. Life is still possible because of your presence. The presence is the reality. Life is happening because of the presence. Not because, you are not just carried away with the life. Life happens in your presence. The awareful being alone can see life. Otherwise, every other animal and plant are mechanical. They are programmed. They cannot change. Whereas you can look at every moment of your life as fresh presence. And you can be the adhishtanam in which the whole thing happens. And that is a reality. This is not just positive thinking. There is a reality eventually. That shraddha we should have. For all these talks we have gone through with Gita, must be able to have that shraddha that my being is the adhishtanam, the whole creation. That is what I had just circulated.
Yes, yes.
How that other person, how Ishwaratvam and Jivatvam both are Nitya and your reality is the Ishwara's reality. That is something very, very phenomenal. Only our Sanatana Dharma can tell this. That is why I always tell, even in our Rishikesh meet, there was this very important discussion. We have to counter, we don't have to counter other religions. We have to tell Sanatana Dharma alone. Everyone agrees, even Christianity, Buddhism, everyone agrees. Revelation, they have a value for revelation. Revelation is Ishvara Vachanam. That is, and revelation is only self is self-revealing.
Yes, yes.
So our presence, our reality is the only revelation that is possible because it does not have any magnitude or measurable quality like time, space, object and all that. So presence, the being is the revelation. So that revelation is only available in Sanatana Dharma. That is what we should stress on. Then make them see the reality of it. So that is precisely what we should not lose. The whole thing we should not lose that. That our presence is the reality. That is what he says. If you have that alert, you are alert to that presence. All these problems that are involving memories, anger, everything, no, it's all accumulated memories. Nothing but anger is nothing but accumulated memories. It is not because somebody is sitting in front of you is cursing you. It is why he is only giving a trigger. So already you are waiting to be angry with somebody, and that fellow Martin down. That's how it is. So we should. That is where we have to be alert to that. Yeah, yeah.
Swamiji, that means we are looking at or listening to people through the ragadveshas.
Yes, yes. From our own personality, and he also does the same thing. So, Swamiji always medicate சொல்லுவார் தானிக்கு தீனி சரி போயிந்தி. Meaning, அவனும் அப்படிதான் இருக்கா, நீயும் அப்படிதான் இருக்க. So both of you pass each other, but both of you are living in a very false world. So one of us have to cut that cycle. We cannot wait for the other person to cut the cycle. You have to cut the cycle because you know you are in charge. So must be able to listen to the other person very empathetically without. That is why he always says you must, whenever he discusses, even if he discusses in anger, you must be able to see the issue. You give importance to the issue on hand and the details. By looking at the details and the issue on hand, you will forget the emotion. You will not really go into the emotion part of it. Then you will be able to come out with some solution. You can calmly then send a mail or send a communication, then have another meeting. Like that, you can make it more constructive rather than reactive. Very important. By looking at the issue, you forget the emotion. Otherwise, you are waiting. You don't even listen to him properly. You want to react. You have got something to say, you want to say. And he also comes with the same agenda. He wants to say something, so he will say. Both of us miss the issue.
Yes.
So never it is a constructive meeting. That happens. But if you are alert, one of us are alert, we can make it more positive. That's what he says. Yeah.
But how do we practice that?
Yeah, you have to be alert to the moment. In the sense, you are nothing, you have got nothing to lose in life. Because you are armed with this understanding that you are here and now complete. You have nothing to lose. Even though you may lose the war, you may lose the battle, but you are not losing the war. Because your life is Purnam, here and now. Purnamadaha, Purnamidam, we keep telling. And the Yathartham should be there in our life. That is our cultural beauty. We should never lose ourselves. We have nothing to lose, honestly speaking. Even at the end of the day, you may lose some money, lose some position, lose some power, etc. But it doesn't make us any less. Because being, the awareful being is our reality. All other embellishments are all Nitya. And we know that. The other person may know, may not know. But since we know, we must harness what we know. That is the only way to go about life. It is irrespective of personal, professional, wherever we are, whatever we are, we must be able to be honest to that understanding. We cannot overlook it or we cannot be superficial about it. It's not theoretical, it's the reality. Yeah.
Actually, Swamiji, we anticipate. When we go to meet someone, we anticipate certain things and we are already judgmental about that person.
Yeah, that is what it is. Precisely, that's what we should avoid. Small things. Must try to get out of that cycle of thinking and all that. Just go fresh. Be fresh and listen to him. And okay. Actually, I have seen that. Honestly, I am seeing that. Even this village, I have been coming when I was young and all that. I used to come and I had certain opinion. Now people keep talking about some opinion and all that. But still, by habit, I have got into a mode of thinking where I meet a person, I meet him afresh. I don't go by whatever I had knew about him earlier and all. And I find it is very rewarding. People also change over a period of time. They are not out to antagonize you. They are not willing to fight with you all the time. So they will also change. And you must give the chance for a very cordial communication to happen. For that you must go with a fresh mind. Just be, since you have nothing to lose, nothing to gain, just go and meet the situation. And automatically you find that whatever old things gone are gone, no point in harboring that. You find out that. Because life has, everyone gets taught in life. They all change. You don't have to go by, we are not, even though we think that every time it's mechanical, but there are some slight changes which you can take advantages of. Listen, people, if you are hardcore person, even he, because of his own experience, he would have also changed a little. And if you go with some fresh approach, when he finds you that you are very fresh and you are informal, you have no axe to grind against him, he will also respond properly. At least he will not antagonize you. He will tell whatever it is, or he may move away, but he will not be very hurtful. Those things happen. If you are, in the sense, it always, no, if whatever opinion you entertain about the other person, he also entertains. You can easily make out. Some sort of a telepathy is always there. If you go with a negative opinion about somebody, he will also come with the same. But if you go afresh, no, that also helps the other person. You can see that happening in communication. That is very important. That for that we must be grounded in the reality. Sense the reality is it is Purnam. We have nothing to lose, nothing to gain in life. Whatever, wherever we are, whatever we approach it afresh and try to do something, whatever is possible, my capacity, whatever I can do, I will do. I will not get bogged down by my past or my anxiety and all that. Those are all very important qualities. Afresh, if you approach, every situation, you find it, you have only certain aspects to deal with, not a problem. It's only a situation, it's not a problem. That it is a problem itself is a mindset.
Yes.
If you look at it as a situation, the word problem should not occur to your mind. Word should be only situation. So that verbal thinking also is very important. The word is very, very important, very potent. The word, once you put a wrong word into your mind, people always say, don't put words into my mouth and all that. Whenever they get angry also they say, don't put words into my mouth. Because the spoken word is very powerful. It makes you mechanical. Since you get stuck to that word, the meaning thereof, and you always approach with that word. So always try to avoid. That is why he says, why? Don't speak minimum. Don't speak unnecessarily. Minimum truth and well ascertained truth. And hitam and priyam. All those things are very important.
Tyaga, Shankara says, is either a lifestyle of sannyasa or karmapala tyaga, which is giving up all the results of actions in order to know yourself. Once you have tyaga, all results that come under artha and kama do not interest you. You perform action as a thing to be done only for the purpose of antakarana shuddhi. Whether you physically renounce the world, you have the spirit of tyaga, absence of ownership and attachment. This vairagya, dispassion, born of maturity is sattviki.
Actually, the entire 18th chapter is between tyaga and sannyasa only.
Yes.
Entire 18th chapter. So he will elaborate there more. But here he has given a brief. Yeah. Sattviki. The vairagya, dispassion, born of viveka is sattviki sampat. That is what it says. Yeah.
Shanti. Shanti is resolution of the mind antakarana. This is possible only if there is no self-judgment. The mind has various phases, and if there is self-judgment, it can create problems in a vicious circle. If, for instance, the mind is restless and you judge yourself as restless, the mind will only become more restless. To resolve that restlessness is then very difficult. So, I avoid creating the vicious circle by refusing to judge myself on the basis of the mind. It is very important to know this. The mind has its own logic. Suddenly it will think of something that seems to have no connection to anything. I can inquire into the logic of it, but it is enough to know that the mind has a logic of its own. I do not know why it thinks the way it does, nor do I need to know. The important thing is I do not judge it, but enjoy it as it is. As long as it is available for me, whenever I need to use it, why should I bother about what it does on its own time? It is important also to give the mind enough time off. If I do not, then it will take the time away anyway, without my permission, and will not be available when I need it. Even if this is the case, as long as I do not make a judgment about it, there is no problem. Everything, including psychological issues, ceases to be a problem if I refuse to make a judgment about myself based on the basis of my mind.
So that is where that second chapter verse is very important. Prajahati yata kamang sarvan partha manogatan atmani atmana tushtaha stita prajnastu uchade. Prajahati yata kamang sarvan partha manogatan. Mindless, lot of things will keep moving like a movie. Yes, it will keep moving. But you pick and choose only a particular relevant thought which you have to act upon. Others, let them come and go. Don't bother about it. I am having a bad thought. People really worry. They actually come, sometimes they even send a message to me. Swamiji, I am having very bad thought about. So there is nothing called bad thought and all. Swamiji always used to say, mind is like that. Mind is like that. It is cannot. Why a movie is called movie? Because it keeps moving. In the same way, mind also is like that. It's like a movie only. It will keep moving. Lot of things will keep happening. But actually, there is no rational. Why a certain thought comes in, very totally out of the context, some thought will come. Just ignore it. It has nothing to do with your life or whatever it is. Just ignore it and don't dwell on it. Then some other thought, if you ignore it, some other thought will come. If that is useful, act on it. So like that. So don't make conclusions about yourself on the basis of a thought that comes. No, I am bad. I am having bad judgment. By telling myself I am bad, that bad judgment becomes ingrained in your mind. Then you feel inferior and all that. So it's all very interfering. Mind is an instrument. It is not you. That is where that mind is you, but you are not the mind. That A is B, B is not B is A is not B. That's very, very true in Vedanta. In our life, everything, lot of things a lot of things happen in our life. I tell you, everything, you are the Adhisthana. But you are not dependent on any of those things. Whether it is the body, whether it is the mind, the emotion, whatever you call it, all are getting their reality only because of you. If you ignore them, they just come and go. You have to move in the direction in which you remain as the Adhisthana, move in the direction which is very, very clear and very useful for you and others. And keep doing that. Others, just let them come and go. Let the thoughts come and go. Let the people come and go. Don't get unnecessarily bugged. Just follow what is your righteous way of living and what you need to do. Keep doing that. So then automatically, the yathartham, the reality of you becomes real in your life. It should not be just it's understanding. You have to live the understanding. One is understanding what is my reality. Second is living that understanding. Both are equally important. Then only it gets really rooted. Automatically other things fall off. Other things will off. So one way is keep on looking at what I am not supposed to do and keep on negating it. But how long you will negate? Because in the changing world, so many things happening. So negation up to a point is okay. But once you understand the reality of yourself, that you must hold on to it. That space you must retain and in all your action and be alert to that. And express that reality. Just be afresh all the time. Here and presence is the reality. My being is, I have nothing to lose. And Desha Kala Vastu Parichinnam being my reality and Vishwara's reality. Like how Vishwara is able to navigate all this thing, whatever is happening, a lot of things are happening. These presence only, a lot of bad things, everything is happening. But because of the overall, all the Jiva's capabilities are there with him, he is able to adjust. Whatever good, something happens, something bad happens, he is able to adjust, compensate it with good and all that. The same way in your life, to that extent possible, you compensate. Like if bad is happening, you try to make it good or keep away, but don't lose yourself in the process. Yeah, but because your reality is the same reality of Ishvara. Just keep moving in the right direction. You have nothing to lose, nothing to gain. Just be. That is very important. That is what the whole thing is all about. For being that, harnessing your reality, all these qualities help. In relative measure, Tyaga is important. Sannyasa is important. Sannyasa meaning what? Don't give more value than other than what it is. Everything has a place value, what they say. No, everything needs place and place for everything. Follow that. Just don't compromise on that. That is nyasa. That is tyaga. That's what he said. Yeah.
Shanti.
Shanti is the resolution of the mind, antakarana. This is possible only if there is no self-judgment. The mind has various phases, and if there is self-judgment, it can create problems in a vicious circle. If, for instance, the mind is restless and you judge yourself as restless, the mind will only become more restless. To resolve that restlessness is then very difficult. So, avoid creating a vicious circle by refusing to judge myself on the basis of the mind. It is very important to know this. The mind has its own logic. Suddenly it will think of something that seems to have no connection to anything. I can inquire into the logic of it, but it is enough to know that the mind has a logic of its own. I do not know why it thinks the way it does, I do not know why it thinks the way it does, nor do I need to know. The important thing is I do not judge it, but enjoy it as it is. As long as it is available for me, whenever I need to use it, why should I bother about what it does on its own time? It is important also to give the mind enough time off. If I do not, then it will take the time away without my permission and not be
Take the
available.
time anyway. In the sense, when you are doing some important thing, at that time it will interfere. If you keep on controlling the mind, yeah.
Even if this is the case, as long as I do not make a judgment about it, there is no problem. Everything, including psychological issues, ceases to be a problem if I refuse to make a judgment about myself on the basis of my mind. Such a judgment can undermine the understanding of Vedanta. The problem is often expressed by the statement of Mukshu. Vedanta says, I am Satchit Ananda, but I do not experience it. Satchit Ananda is not something to be experienced, it is to be understood. The vision is that you are Satchit Ananda, the reality of everything and independent of everything. If you say you do not understand this, if you say the vision that is you are Satchidananda, the reality of everything and independent of everything. If you say you do not understand this, then it is a legitimate problem. That is why we have so many texts. Shankara would not have written such elaborate bhashyas if people could easily understand. For someone who is studying, not understanding should not be a problem. It just means you have to understand, and so you keep trying to understand till you understand.
Shastra says you are Satchidananda in spite of your mind, in spite of all the desirable and undesirable characteristics of your upadhi. Even if you consider a brilliant, pure mind to adumbrate Satchit Ananda, when we are talking about Sarvajñatva and so on, it is insignificant. It is something like decorating a broomstick with precious ornaments. No matter how wonderful the upadhi may be, it is not limitless Satchidananda. Comparison therefore has no meaning here. There is no comparison with Satchidananda because in the final analysis there is only Satchit Ananda. The differences in upadhis are matter for resolution, not comparison. When I have to negate...
Yeah, basically this Satchidananda, what he means is the same thing, what we have been telling. There is a kala vastu aparichinnam, that is timeless, spaceless, objectless being, is not a thing. When that is the reality, everything else, however high and mighty one by one can be in terms of upadhi, meaning embellishments, in terms of, that is why he says broomstick. Embellishments meaning, we can be a qualified person, he may have wealthy, he may be very powerful. All those embellishments do not mean anything in presence of Satchit Ananda as the reality. When that is very clear, then you don't have to keep comparing with this, between this upadhi and that upadhi and making self-judgment or judgment about others and all that. That's what is to be done for a person's situation, you keep doing it. That's what, yeah.
When I have to negate even the difference in the manifest form of the Lord and the individual, Jiva Ishvara Buddhi Bheda, how does it help me to turn my attention to the differences between individual and individual?
Yeah, this is precisely the yesterday's topic. Jivatvam and Ishwaratvam, when they are Nitya, what is the question of comparing between two Jivas? That is what it is.
The Shruti talks so much about negating any difference whatsoever. When the Shastra is urging me to drop various things in my vision of myself, why should I want to have additional features? It is something like wishing that a dead body should be slim or fat for burial or cremation. When I have to give up my sense of being the body, mind and senses, how many embellishments should they have? The properties of the upadhi are irrelevant here because the whole teaching is that you should not judge yourself on the basis of your upadhi. If that is clearly seen, even relatively, it gives you some space. Suppose you find yourself frequently judging yourself. You can see that the very judging is a thought, one particular type of thinking. Then you try to find out how the judging takes place with a readiness to accept what is there. When you no longer refuse to accept a fact, resolution, Shanti is natural. A factual problem may remain, which you can always attempt to solve, but there is no problem due to non acceptance of a fact. By rejecting a fact, you are never going to solve any problem. If not today, tomorrow you have to accept it. And the more you learn how to accept facts, the more you find there is Shanti. Various disciplines like pranayama can also help you gain a relative measure of Shanti. So even Swamiji, when you no longer refuse to accept a fact, resolution Shanti is natural, na? I don't.
No.
The sixth line.
When you no longer
refuse
to accept a fact, meaning you accept a fact. When you no longer refuse to accept a fact.
Okay.
The double negative.
Oh.
So that means you have to accept a fact.
Okay.
Yeah.
Apaisuna, looking for omissions and commissions in the thinking or behavior of others and making sure everyone else knows of these limitations is called Paisuna. And the absence of Paisuna is Apaisuna. It is all right to talk about the good qualities of one person to another.
Basically, in Shastra they say, Guneshu dosha darshanam. The proofreading mind. All the time, even if something nicely, some nice article is given to you, you will look for some grammatical mistakes. You will miss the theme of that article and look for grammatical mistakes. So, Guneshu dosha darshanam. That is what he is talking about. Apaishuna. Apaishuna means opposite of it. Don't be looking for always mistakes in others. Find out what is good about it. Yeah.
It is all right to talk about the good qualities of one person to another. In fact, it is good because it confirms what is good in me and in others. But talking about the defects of others, looking for problems and then exaggerating them and presenting them out of context, in other words, gossiping, is Paishuna. This is not helpful to us. We gossip because we are not happy with ourselves. And it is often a way of trying to handle jealousy. By talking about the limitations of someone I am jealous of, I may keep my jealousy under control. But I am not dealing with it. I am only creating additional problems for myself. Through gossip, I try to escape from myself. There are many means of escape, like excessive eating or working, but gossiping more than the others spoils both my mind and the mind of the person who listens to me. It is destructive. It is better to stay with myself and look at the problem that is creating the pressure for me to talk about someone else. That will lead to Apaishuna. Daya. Daya is compassion towards another being who is suffering or in pain of any kind. This includes not only a human being but any other kind of living being. Whether it is a tree, a creeper, or a frog struggling to survive, or a person suffering from an emotional or a physical pain, one feels sympathy towards that living being. This is Daya. This is another form of love that expresses because of empathy, because of identifying with the pain of another. The capacity to empathize is innate to a human being, and it is important not to repress this very natural response. If, without subjecting yourself to pain, you act upon this empathy, then that is Daya. You must always be active in expressing your Daya, because passive Daya is useless to the person who is suffering and only creates problems for you. Once you respond to your empathy with a helpful action, it is over. Otherwise, you develop guilt for not acting on that empathy, and as a result of that guilt, you try to justify your refusal to act. This justification requires a distortion in your thinking and a denial of what is spontaneous and very natural. Daya is an expression of love. When the object of love is a living being in pain, the love expresses in the form of Daya. Everyone has Daya. When your finger is hurt, you are full of Daya for that finger, and you expect it from others too. It is an emotion that everyone knows, but most often it goes unexpressed. Therefore, you have to cultivate it by refusing to suppress it. And surely sometimes its expression has to be properly edited. Even if it is a situation where you are helpless to act, at least you can make a prayer for the person. But it has to be acted upon. Daya cannot be kept inside. It has to be expressed. That is why every day we pray, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. May everyone be happy. Because you do not want to be unhappy, you understand that nobody else wants to be unhappy either. The more you pay attention to your empathy, the more sympathy you will have in your expression of thought, word, and deed. Aloluptva. Aloluptva is an absence of longing in the presence of desirable sense objects. It is one thing to be unmoved in the absence of objects, but quite another to remain so in their presence. That is why when you go to a big departmental store, you come out with more than what you intended to buy. Buying just what you wanted takes a lot of self-control. In cultivating this value of aloluptva, practice is important. Without removing the sense objects, though perhaps that may be helpful in the beginning, you appreciate all of them without a longing arising in you. Even if a fancy occurs, you do not respond to it. In shopping, for instance, you allow all your fancies and impulses to arise, but purchase only what you really need. This is considered sattvika because it requires a discriminative mind. If that is not operative, you become subject to longing and in this instance, impulsive buying. This is what we call loluptva, an expression of rajas.
Yeah,
Madhava.
actually it is very, very commonly used word. Lolo Narayan. So that is very, I must have come from this particular Sanskrit word only, the colloquial terms. Yeah.
Mardava. Mardava is absence of cruelty. It comes
Mridu Bhava we know. Softer. Generally it must be soft. Yeah.
It comes from the word mridu, which means soft. The petal of a flower is mridu. Softness, a kindness in attitude, is what we call mardava. People should be able to talk to you freely, happily, without fear of harsh words. This is mardava. There are some people who are kind, but very harsh in their expression. There is a story that illustrates the different types of people. An old Brahmana arrived in a village just at lunchtime. One person spoke to him very nicely for about 5 minutes and then asked if he had eaten. When he replied that he had not, the villager lamented that his household had just finished their meal and directed him to another house. His words were all spoken softly, like a knife going into butter. When the Brahmana went to the other house, he was greeted curtly but fed abundantly and was invited to rest also. These are the two types, one non-giving and soft, the other very giving but very harsh. The second is definitely better, but we need to be both giving and soft. The softness is very important because it implies accommodation, accepting the limitations of others, and understanding from where they come. Hri. Hri is a particular kind of shyness. This is not a general shyness, but a shying away from praise about yourself and from extolling your own glories. Sometimes you have to tell your qualifications, but then you remain objective, not flattering yourself. It is a very natural modesty or humility. Achapala.
Chapalam.
Achapalam.
Chapalam and Achapalam.
Oh,
Yeah.
Chapalam and Achapalam.
Chapalam and Achapalam.
Achapala is another important thing. It is the absence of activity of speech, hands, legs, etc. without a purpose, says Shankara. This means living a purposeful and very alert life in which your actions become deliberate. It brings about a change in the mind because Chapala is an expression of agitation. With practice, Achapala can be accomplished easily, but it takes some attention. It is very important that it be done without tension so that the mind is relaxed enough for proper Shravana. With knowledge of Atma, Achapala becomes very natural, but without inner freedom, alertness needed to maintain Achapala can create tension. It is advised as a practice here only as a discipline leading to the discovery of inner freedom, not as an end in itself. This Achapala is very natural to a Sattvika mind. One may be Sattvika but still have agitations. If that is so, some external discipline will reduce the disturbance.
Basically, in Zen attitude, they say, no, in Buddhism, they say Zen attitude. It is mindfulness. All your movements, hand movements, everything should be mindful, very deliberate and alert. You should not be very fidgety and all that. That is what he means by this. In the sense, that discipline can help you in terms of study and all, meditation, yoga and all that. But for that, if you have a natural understanding, since going through the Shastra, you have understood that a sense of a calmness there within you, that you have nothing to lose and nothing to gain, everything nice, then automatically this your fidgety attitude, fidgety tendency will come down. So, if you know your reality, it is easier. But if you don't know it also, you develop it as a technique and practice, that will also help you to calm down your mind and study well and all. So, both ways it helps. Relatively as a value, and absolutely it is natural for a person who understands that it automatically follows. That is how it is. So, that is why he says the whole thing is both relative and absolute measure. Once in absolute measure, you have your understanding clear about your reality. All these qualities automatically will become part of your, become spontaneous. You don't have to be deliberate. Initially, you have to be deliberate till the time, because both yoga and jnana is going together. So, yoga helps jnana and jnana helps yoga. So, both have to go. That is beauty, uniqueness of Gita. Gita only talks about all these. Upanishads will not talk about all these things. They are not qualified. This is what the truth is. Mahavakya, you understand it, period. Bhashya will tell you, this is the reality of your life. You take it or leave it. That is Upanishad. Whereas Gita is very compassionate to us. The sense because that is why it is in the field. It is in the field of activity this Upadesa is being done. So, all the constituents of the field of activity is taken into account where the Upadesa is being done. So, what are all the possible errors in your life where you can avoid and develop a disciplined life? At the same time, keep studying, understanding. This understanding will help you to reinforce those values. And that values will help you to create enough space for you to study and understand. Both have to be handheld together. That is what he says, yeah.
And for mindfulness, Swamiji, you have always to be present, not think.
Yeah, in the sense, if you are in the present, automatically mindfulness will be
Mindfulness
there.
will come.
Mindfulness is not there because you are not in the present. You carried away with the mind. The mind, generally people feel they are all carried away with the mind. The mind is me. Mind, I am nothing but the mind. Bhagavan himself tells, sanchalam ki manaha. In the sense, ananda, if you identify with the mind, sanchalam is its nature. So you will also be sanchalam. I am restless. Mind is restless, so I am restless. That is precisely the problem. Mind is restless, it's bhavan. Like Swamiji always used to say, you can't ask a monkey to sit.
Yes.
The mind is like a monkey only. It will keep jumping. If it doesn't jump only, there is a problem. You have to understand. So let it jump. But it should be useful to you when you are doing some work. When you are not doing anything, you are just sitting, relaxing in a crowd. You are in a marriage. You are just waiting for the lunch to be going through. Okay, father, mother is there. They are going to attend the. I am going along with them. Just relax. If mind goes for some thing, you just listen to some rock music, whatever it is. Allow it to go free. Don't get bugged. But when you are really in the office, don't allow those things to cloud your mind. So that is why you have to give the free mind enough freedom. But when you are, so that it is available for you when you need it. But you have to be very alert to this fact that mind is not you. Mind is you, but you are not the mind. It's only an instrument in your hands. And it is a fidgeting, in the sense, continuously changing is its nature. So I will allow it to keep going, but when I want to attend to something serious, I will focus. I will not allow any stray thoughts to confuse me or something. I will focus. That focus, the sense you have to practice that again. Initially, you have to practice. Once you have that inner leisure, inner freedom in your life, you have nothing to lose, nothing to gain. Everything is beautiful in Bhagavan's creation. I am the author of my destiny because I am the being. Jivatvam is only an embellishment. It's not my reality. My reality is Swarupa. And like whatever I can do with my body, mind, senses, my capabilities, my faculties, whatever I can do, I will keep doing to that extent possible. To that extent I understand. Nothing, no heavens are going to fall. Just I will keep doing whatever I am. I am Purnam. I am happy. I am a happy person as I am. That That understanding only this particular study helps, gives, and we must allow it to take root in our life. It is very important. And along with this, all these qualities in relative measure, slowly it will be possible for us to live a very realistic life. That's what he says. Yeah.
Tejas. Tejas means brilliance, not the shine of your skin, but inner brilliance, says Shankara. He defines it as the capacity to face difficult challenges with self-confidence. Kshama. Kshama means composure. Even when you are addressed by someone who is angry or assaulted in some way, there is no change within you. This is possible because you do not internalize the other person's behavior, but just allow him to be what he is and wait for the disturbance to pass. No angry response arises in you. If anger arises and you resolve it, that is called akrodha. If anger does not arise, it is kshama. This is an accommodation which permits you to understand the other person. Unless you have the readiness to allow a person to be as he or she is, there is no way of understanding him or her. Making another person feel understood is not that easy. It takes a lot of kshama.
Actually, in another context, Swamiji used to say, Kshama is graceful acceptance.
Grateful
It's
acceptance.
not even accommodation. You go one step further. You gracefully accept, well, this is the niyati. It is all in the order. That the other person is angry is a part of the order. That you must be able to see that. It is Ishvara's niyati. Okay, this is a situation in which the person, because of his background, is anger. I'm fortunate enough that I'm able to see his anger, even though it is misplaced, but I don't get angry. I'm just calm. And I do whatever I can in the situation. The other person's anger does not evoke an anger reaction in you. That means you are not reactive. You are responsive. Since you are what your reality is. Reactive means mechanical. You are not deliberate. And deliberate means you have lost your freedom. You become an animal. So I don't want to be an animal. I want to be a person, being. And the beingness means I know however much the other person is provocative, it doesn't. You have gained a disposition in life where it does not evoke a reaction in you. Even however much the other person behaves. You are so cool like a cucumber. People say, no, Dhoni and all that. Like that. It is a very disposition you must have. Because that is because you don't allow others to hurt you. Because this person is. Yeah.
No. Because you see, the ego in you, when somebody says something, first thing is that ego. What shall I say?
Yeah, that's why what you have to say. First thing is, ego is only a state of mind. It's not I. I am the person who is going to control the ego. Control the ego and doesn't manage the ego. Like, no point in being egotistic in the situation. It's not warranted. Okay, if it is something I can do something useful, I can allow my ego to prevail. Otherwise, ego has to be. It's only an operating instrument. It's not. Ego is me, but I am not the ego. It's a state of mind only. Like mind as my internal organ has got 4 qualities like chittam, memory, recorder, manaha, and buddhi, sankalpatmaka, sankalpa vikalpatmaka, and ego is only aham. Aham karam means aham karomi iti bhavam. That's I am the doer. That bhavam only makes you. This is you harness the whole thing, and I am doing. But I am doing is itself is a. If you really analyze, you are not the real doer as such. I think a lot of things happen around you. You are only doing nimitta matram bhava. However high and mighty you are, you can only play a certain particular role in your life. However, so you can never call yourself a doer. Doer means you are in charge of everything. No, nobody is in charge of everything. So that I am a doer. Ahankara, the kara should be dropped. Because aham karomi iti bhavam is called ahankara. Aham is fine. I am there. But ahamkara is that aham karomi, I am the doer. It is not unrealistic way of looking at life. You are not the doer in everything. You are done. You are not the doer. Most occasions in life, you are done. So that by logical understanding, you must keep away this ego part of it. Even if it rises, by time and again putting it in its place, automatically over a period of time, it will subside. And you can see a lot of people, they are very naturally, they are not egotistic. They just respond. They don't get hurt by even somebody shouts at them and all that. We feel that, because it may be natural disposition or maybe a developed disposition. Either way, it is good. No point in, because it is a very false entity. We have been discussing that. Ego is a very false entity. Manaha, Chittam, Buddhi are useful. Ego is the worst part of it. Doesn't have it's a Aryada Virundali. Just because you don't understand your reality, you allow ego to. But now that you have understood reality, your reality is the being. Ego is only one part of the mind, a small part of the mind, which you use it only for going and coming. That's all. The ego coordinates your activities in terms of that much only it has got a value. Beyond that, no. It does not give any value beyond that. Ego has to be treated like a donkey. That's all.
But Swamiji,
So it's all very, very important.
when we are insulted and you have a lot of ego, one thing I found, Swamiji, last 4 or 5 times in my experience, having buttermilk clears the ego and anger and everything.
Yeah, something, whatever it is.
completely.
If you take a
feel
pranayama,
it's good.
that is why pranayama he says. Pranayama also, taking deep breath also helps. I tell you, taking deep breath. No, taking deep breath, what happens when you do take deep breath, the mind is stunned, doesn't think. Because oxygen is very important. When oxygen you don't give, the mind doesn't think. So pranayama helps that way. And your concentration is on breathing in and breathing out. So automatically the mind, whatever that was creating that situation in your mind, the ego, automatically peters out. Then next moment you are another 5-10 minutes, take some water or buttermilk, whatever you call it.
No, you have told
and
us,
then you-
Swami. You have told us this earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody has told us, when you get angry, he said, take a deep breath. Don't immediately.
Very important, I tell you, very deep breath. Pranayama is the best thing, I tell you. Very simple but very, very effective technique. Prana Vikshanam, that they say in Shastra also they say Prana Vikshanam. Simple breathing in and breathing. You don't have to do elaborate, like, just you observe your breathing. That is important. Because it changes your mind, no? From attending to some ego hurt and all that you start looking at something basic, more basic, Prana Vikshanam. That helps. Since we feel, no, we must give importance, we will lose our paisa, kuch nahi hai. There is nothing like that. I tell you, allow the situation to pass. Let this also pass. That is the best way to live. Nothing really, no heavens are going to fall. And nothing is going to be achieved by allowing your ego to act out of turn. Doesn't help.
Yes.
Swami,
Yeah.
Swamiji, some people will suppress to the highest extent and then.
Hey, suppression is not a good thing. That's what he says. You observe it. You don't suppress it. You observe. And then allow things to pass. And then look at the situation. And then suppressing means what will happen is you condemn yourself. That is also not good. Self-condemnation also is not good. You cannot say, I am bad, and say suppress.
No, there's no be right.
It's not because your situation is like that. It's nothing like you are bad or somebody is good and all. Situation, maybe you have some wrong inputs. The other person may be having the right. When you analyze it calmly later, perhaps you will get to know. You may change your situation or you may be able to change the other situation. So you must give yourself enough time to recover, recoup, and all that. You should not allow, you should not, what they say, spilled milk. You cannot recover. That should not happen. Can boil, but should not spill.
Weeping
Very
over
important.
milk. Okay. Om Swam.
Purnamada Purnamidam
Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om